Well, the New World Order is certainly turning up the heat. We're seeing world leaders, left, right and centre, fall over, seemingly pushed out by the will of the people. But I have to ask, is it really the will of the people, or is it the will of the IMF? Is it the will of the money masters? We saw Papandreou commit one of the world's most heinous crimes in recent times. That crime, worse than pedophilia, worse than murder, worse than arson, worse than genocide. The crime he committed was democracy. My God! Asking to have a referendum before he made the momentous decision of jumping into further commitment with the IMF and so-called slash the debt, which actually turns out to be longer term, a debt bubble 20 years down into the future. He had to be got rid of at any cost. In fact, the so-called rescue package wasn't even going to be given to the Greeks unless he was gone. Why? Because he was an honest man. Why? Because he was a man who realized that he was a servant of the sovereign people of Greece and that he had to ask their opinion on such a huge decision. But he had to go because he wasn't one of them. Now his replacement will be carefully chosen by the IMF and the money masters so that he will become very user-friendly when it's time to bring the EU into the New World Order and under a single world currency, which is what these moves are all about, or at least partly about. Okay, Berlusconi had to go. So his replacement will be user-friendly. Julia Gillard, she doesn't count much in the world scheme of things. Too stupid. But she will be removed very soon. In fact, the next general election, however it's brought on, monetary-wise or political assassination, and I mean that in the sense of knife stabbing the way Kevin Rudd went out, whoever takes over will bring on an election, and I believe the election will occur in 2013, and I also believe that the new Liberal Prime Minister will be the one who will commit our troops to world war before the end of 2013. And at the end of 2015, Labour will be returned to power in Australia, and they will bring our troops home after a 3-year war. Because it has always been a tradition in this country, and you can check these records for yourself, that a Liberal Prime Minister has sent our troops to war and a Labour Prime Minister has returned them. Now, that is not just coincidence. This New World Order will be in place in time for the recovery of the financial situation in 2016. How do I know these dates? Because they're already written down, people. Depression in 2012, recovery in 2016. Nothing could be more simple. It's written down. The money masters are working to a set agenda. An agenda and a cycle which was already being cleverly worked out a couple of 100 years ago. The cycle was published in 1872 by a man named Trich, he promptly disappeared from the face of the earth, and he promptly disappeared from all records in the history books. You cannot find any reference to him other than a verbal, remembered reference from father to son. Soon they'll say he never existed in the first place. They're already saying that, and have been for hundreds of years, about Jesus. Not that I'm holding this fella up to being anything like Jesus. But people and places, in fact, have been removed from the history books. The Germans did it in World War II. They removed an entire town from the history books. All references to it were disappeared. All maps changed, everything. And there's nothing but flat grass there where the place used to live, where the people used to live and the place used to be. So these powerful people are very capable of totally wiping something out. Anyway, the graph was published as far back as 1872. It was produced before that. It was republished again in 1929, before the Depression had its full effect. And the graph shows quite clearly that the Depression was to have its full effect in 1931, which it did. And again in 1951 we were in depression. And again down the track, you can see that by the graph, every time we've had a depression and war, it's been shown in the graph. Now, 2012 is the depression, and 2016 is the recovery. So I'm asking you people to get yourself prepared and get yourself very quickly insulated as much as you possibly can. Start growing your own fruit and vegetables, and start saving aside some food, because it's going to be a bumpy ride, especially if there's a war involved, which I believe there will be. So stop listening to the media who are paid to mislead you. Stop listening to the puppets such as Julia Gillard, who is paid to mislead you. Follow history. History will always reveal to you what is coming in the future.